Hi, Gil from Testing Gil here, and today I want to talk about the F in SFDIPOT, functionality. If you didn't watch the primer on SFDIPOT, the testing strategy heuristics, you can watch it here. Functionality is what the system does. When we're thinking of testing a system, we're actually thinking about testing its functionality. That's the first thing that pops into our mind. What's the best way to approach it? Well, it's not going to be big news to you. Software has capabilities. It can do stuff. These capabilities are in service of someone, the user, maybe several types of users. When we're testing functionality, we ask, what do the users need from the app? And can they get it through these kind of workflows? Remember that when we're planning test scenarios, we're not just trying to validate the spec. We're trying to see how the system works outside the spec. Our first example today is an API, which is not a very good example. Let me explain. Let's say we have an API in our Bigger Better bookstore to buy a book. Does it return a 200? Great. Test pass. Okay, we know that's not enough. Executing just the API and seeing the result does not give us the confidence that we can actually buy a book in the application. In fact, checking the result for status code is almost like a unit test. To make sure the buying capability works, we need to check different scenarios. Buying a book that is in stock. Buying a book which is out of stock. Buying the last book in stock. Pre-order the book. Since we're doing this through the APIs, that means calling not just one API, probably going to execute multiple APIs. So these are a couple of scenarios just off the top of my head, probably a lot more. For each one, we'll have some kind of setup, execution, and expected result, and different ways to check that the result actually works. One of them, for example, would be to look at the inventory. Buying also has a minimal effect on money. We'd probably want to check that too. Actually, probably want to check that first. What about edge cases or negative cases? I really don't like these terms and they deserve a whole separate video in the future. But regardless, what happens when an error occurs? At the API level, it might return an error code. But at the scenario level, we probably want to see how error handling is actually get handled. What happens if you get disconnected in the middle of buying? What if you start buying, but somebody snags the last virtual copy? So we check those things, and we check other things as well, like side effects, notifications to users, status in the database, how the UI changes, everything that belongs to the feature called buying the book. I usually push to talk in terms of workflows and scenarios rather than features. Features are vague, and everyone has their own idea what a feature looks like. With workflows and scenarios, we reduce the risk of misinterpretation. That means that we should break features and capabilities into smaller workflows and scenarios when we're doing a test plans. When we do that, when we break features into workflows, we can compare these workflows in terms of importance and also about how much we're going to learn from them and what's the risk or the cost involved in each one. Then we can prioritize. For example, let's test these 5 scenarios of buying the book and these 5 scenarios of selling the book. And for the rest of ideas that we have, a lower prioritization, we'll get to them if we can or maybe later. The whole idea of a testing strategy is coming up with ideas. We're really good at the functionality part, coming up with these kind of ideas, but it's better to visualize them as a tree or a mind map so everyone can see the different cases and get the same picture. One more thing. If you've done your top-level test planning, you know what are the major workflows that should work. So you don't need to start from scratch every time. Check out the top-level testing planning video here. And that's the F in SFDIPOT. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and watch other videos on this channel. And in the comments down below, tell me what's your method of breaking big features into itty-bitty scenarios and workflows. How small do you go? Where do you stop? Until next time, bye-bye.